A very good afternoon to all our viewers this afternoon. It is my pleasure to bring to you a session on paradigm shift in talent priorities and strategies featuring Mamta Sharma. Mamta Sharma is the Vice President and the HR Head of Fiserv. Mamta, a very, very warm welcome to the show. But before I introduce you, I'm going to say a few words about Fiserv. Fiserv is a leading global provider of payments and financial services technology. They employ close to 40,000 associates globally, assisting thousands of financial institutions and corporate and merchant businesses in more than 100 countries. Fiserv has been operating in India with distinction since 2005 and has consistently delivered strong performance and innovative solutions and services in payments and fintech through global delivery centers that are based out of NCR, Bengaluru, Hyderabad, Chennai, and Pune. Fiserv has been named among Fortune magazine's world's most admired companies for 8 consecutive years, from 2014 to 2021. Mamta, I'm now going to take a minute to introduce you. So Mamta, for the benefit of our audience, has nearly 2 decades of HR experience, having worked in diversified geographies. She is the HR head and the vice president for Fiserv India, but she also acts as the trusted advisor to the senior leadership team of Fiserv Global Services Limited across India, the United States, and Costa Rica on all talent-related dimensions. She is a committed people, talent, and HR leader with globally diversified experiences in multiple markets and technology organizations. She has an illustrious record of driving transformation to build organizational depth, culture, and capability. Mamta constantly challenges herself and her team to raise their thinking. She always steps up to the plate and takes charge in a crisis to manage it with dignity, integrity, and transparency. Finally, at Fiserv, Mamta is also a large sponsor of Diversity and Inclusion Charter and plays an active leadership role in internally influencing progressive policies related to pay equality and guiding employee resource groups like the Women's Impact Network, Unity, and several others. Mamta, a very, very warm welcome to the WIT Ignite Career Fair.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. I mean, this is a wonderful introduction, not only of myself, but also of Fiserv. So thank you so much for the warm welcome.
Thanks a lot. So coming to the topic of our discussion, Mamta, I'm going to pick up on a few threads, right? So it says paradigm shift in talent priorities and strategies. So I'm going to pick up the word a few of them. Obviously, one is priorities and also the word paradigm.
Right.
So leaders from across the functional spectrum are opining on what it might be in terms of work going forward. And which brings me to my very first question. What do you see, to be the top priorities for workplace transformation and future of work?
Yeah, no, thank you. And look, it's a pretty broad question, right? So I'm going to answer it both broadly and then double click a little bit for you. Like you said, I mean, there is a lot of thought leadership on this topic that's around in pretty much every circle. Personally, the belief is twofold. One, really a holistic employee experience, right? And therein lies, just quite a few things that I will further elaborate on. But really employee experience and then a holistic employee well-being, I think are going to form the foundation for, like you rightly said in the introduction, transformational leadership, right? So leaders, organizations that are changing, that are evolving, that are transforming are the ones that are really going to be paving the way forward, if you will, right? Organizations that are, and there are various nuggets and nuances there. Let's talk a little bit about empathy, right? This is, if you Google it, I bet this is one of the first ones that you'll come across, and what every CXO worth their salt should possess today, right? It's that, and it's not only for a CXO, it's a whole cultural dimension to it, right? Organizations that truly are built on a culture of trust and transparency, and the culture of empathy, both in their words, in their actions, in their day-to-day behaviors. And sometimes, trust me, that does test the mettle of several, right? When it often comes in time in competing with business priorities. But if you're clear that you have an empathetic way, and if you're truly, like at Fiserv, we're a family-first organization, it tends to come very naturally and almost like second nature, right? So that's when people go above and beyond, and that's when you have a connection with an organization, especially in today's virtual world, if you will. Right. So I think that is something that I would say is one of the key priorities. And then in no particular order, there is a sense of continuous learning, right? As much as the organizations are changing, evolving, and the world is, so is an individual wanting to keep themselves abreast the latest and greatest technologies, and the right skills. Again, like organizations, and I'm sure that several of the partnering organizations would have tie-ups with several. At Fiserv, we've tied up with Udemy, which just provides all our technology learners and otherwise enough breadth and depth to not only explore what they're learning today, but also what they want to learn for the future, and then self-assess themselves and keep growing. So there's a sense of an ecosystem that thrives on a culture of learning. Right. So again, these are cultural nuances and pieces. Let's talk about diverse and innovative technologies. Right. We have a multi-generational workforce, one that has options galore. So they're all spoiled for choice. And would like to work on technologies that are latest and greatest, right? And I'm sure that, AI and digital are going to, again, going back to the transform the world. Those are technologies that are going to pave the way for what our children are going to see for sure, right? They don't know any different, So I think those are the pieces that are going to really come in. And then for an organization, when you have all of these, you build the foundation for internal mobility, right? Whether we call it, I'm sure there are different names for it, but it's basically how one grows within the same organization, laterally, vertically, but have enough options to be able to work on some of the latest and greatest pieces, explore, and it's an on-the-job learning. Right. So again, the beauty of large global organizations is that one can truly build successful careers by leveraging in pieces like internal mobility, right? So I think all of these and collaborative tools that are appealing to I would say a pretty tech-friendly crowd are some of the foundation blocks for what's going to come forward. But essentially, transformation and empathy, will be at a core. It's going to have a lot of nuance of culture.
It's very interesting, Mamta. I tried my best to listen in with every word that you said, and a number of them, have left their impression on me. And I will sort of paraphrase a few of them
Sure.
for the benefit of our audience. So you started off by talking about employee well-being. I don't know whether that was in the context of the pandemic or not, but we will let that pause for a bit. You spoke about the importance of empathy, right? Mm-hmm. You spoke about the importance of continuous learning, right? And giving opportunities to employees to through various platforms to continuously upgrade themselves. You spoke about the younger generation wanting to be and wanting to dabble with at the cutting edge of technology. But I think more than anything else, what struck me, and this is out for all the women who are, I don't know how many of them are there, but maybe close to 30,000. You spoke about Fiserv being a family first organization. So I think, these are very, very important nuggets for all those who are listening in to us today. So thank you. You were extremely lucid, Mamta. Moving forward, I would like to shift the focus of our discussion to the other word that we have in the topic, which is strategies, right? Mm-hmm. And we all agree today that we are in the digital era or the digital age, right? And given that we are currently in the midst of a career fair where organizations are showcasing more than 400 roles, I would say that it is very evident that there is a great demand for digital talent. And at the same time, if I'm not mistaken, and this is something that we are witnessing ourselves in our organization, there is also a huge shortage of talent. When I talk of talent, a shortage of digital talent. So what strategies at a very broad level should organizations look at? And maybe to a lesser extent or to a more more focused way, what is Fiserv doing about it?
Sure, and you're right. I mean, look, this is something that is transforming, right? That is paving the way forward, like we said. So all organizations that are moving at a really fast pace, and Fiserv is one that does move at an incredible pace, right? Is already forward looking in terms of how to build, a larger digital capability and ecosystem. And let me elaborate a little bit on that. When I talk about digital capability, it's both the breadth and depth of a digitally led enterprise, right? So it's threefold. It's one, that all our technologies are now digitally enabled, right? Likewise, our products are digitally enabled such that, we're catering to a customer and not a, but like several customers that are operating in a very fast-paced digital world, right? So we have to be partnering with them, if not lockstep battle, probably ahead of it, right? So to that sense, it's both the digital products as well as the digital technologies. And then it comes to the workforce, right? Which is where I'll elaborate a little bit more for you. But we have at Fiserv the former two really covered. And continuously growing, right? I think any organization is continuously evolving on that. As far as the digital talent is concerned, it's really twofold. It's one that, like you mentioned, there is a shortage, and we continue to be attracting some of the best and brightest to the talent. We feel fairly fortunate, that we have some of the brightest engineers joining us, and not only engineers, in general, just talent across different services that are joining us. We have a TAP program. So we call it TAP, which is Technology Analyst Program, where we actually recruit some of the brightest engineers, like I said, from institutes that, and I know how rewarding that can be when you join the right organization. You mentioned my career was a couple of decades, but when I reminisce, it's not that long ago, and I stayed on with an organization for a really long time, joining similarly. And we finding that similar, cohort at Fiserv, right, with our TAP program. So there is a lot of welcoming of the new thinking that is digitally attuned, for whom it comes as second nature, as well as training and providing the right ecosystem and opportunities for our internal associates, right? So it's reskilling, upskilling. I had alluded towards Udemy providing an access to several learning platforms. So we have a digital academy. And not to get extremely prescriptive, but what I'll say is that right from the competencies that are required to be had at different technologies that are there, dabbling from the basics to the in-depth, depends on how far you want to go and how deep you want to go, having those pieces that are there from a training perspective, as well as technical tracks, domain and product sessions. So both, the tech as well as the product knowledge that goes hand in hand. Those are something that we have in a pretty, it might sound a little bit overwhelming, but it is pretty structured, pretty much, paced to an individual's pace and aptitude. So we have some of those pieces. And then also, again, going to culture. So you'll find me referencing culture a lot because, like I said, it's in the DNA of it, right? The culture of technology and innovation. So, coming from that, we also have opportunities where we have weekly tech sessions, where folks, similar folks ideate, enthusiasts, collaborate. And then they're also working on pieces that are, that's a need in the market, right? Or something that somebody felt. And there is enough room for entrepreneurship, if I say so, which is digitally enabled, and that focuses on some of these. So I know that it's a pretty verbose answer for what you asked, but hopefully it gives a little bit of a bird's eye view into how we're looking at it from an overall enterprise perspective, and then to individuals when it comes to being more digitally enabled.
Yeah, thank you, Mamta. I think that was quite insightful. So I'm going to move the needle of discussion, and your thoughts around the HR function, right, which you obviously represent. And how do you see the HR role or the HR function becoming innovative, leveraging tech analytics to solve both talent as well as business needs? Because I'm sure you would agree that one of the key parts of HR, which never ever goes away, is the fight for talent, right? And today, of course, HR leaders are supposed to be business leaders as well. So therefore, how is the HR function coping up, being innovative, leveraging tech and analytics to solve talent and business problems or business needs?
Yeah, no, thank you. I was smiling as you said they're supposed to be business leaders. I think today, if you're not, then you really will find yourself out. Yeah, exactly. Right. I mean, the conversation has long changed from getting a seat at the table to you have a seat at the table. You just need to be able to, talk in the language of business, right? Because we are business leaders first and HR leaders second. I mean, that's the belief. But no, look, I mean, I spoke about innovation a little bit earlier, right? Which is the cornerstone of our culture. But and not only as we service, our clients with innovative products and solutions, that's a similar piece that gets applied to us in HR as well, right? I'll talk about Fiserv. We're an extremely data-led organization, right? As you can imagine, being in fintech and leading all of that, the same rules sort of apply in words, right? We while applying HR analytics and tech, and I remember this topic has been around conferences for like the last 5 years now, I think, where it was like, oh, it's going to shape, Deloitte Studies and others had said that. Today, it's a given, right? I don't know what to do without data, quite honestly, and analytics, right? And it's moved very quickly from being reflective to predictive, right? You start to look at patterns, you start to a certain behavior that is coming out, not that the human element is going anywhere. So I will always be, and I tell some of my very data tuned leaders on HR leaders on my team that there is always that 2% for human behavior, don't discount that ever. But that apart, the fact is that we basically use our data insights from the trends that we've had, from the market dynamics and behaviors, from listening to our associates. So we very patiently and attuned to what our associates say. And I'll talk about that via data itself and via pulse surveys, not only the enterprise-wide surveys that happen annually, but also, quite often very short surveys that happen on our intranet called Fuel. But we're listening, right? We're running those polls and listening to several pieces that help shape our strategy, that help shape what we need to do for not only the present, but also the future. It helps the leaders, make astute decisions that are going to go a really long way. And it's in everything. Yeah? It's in the whole, since you mentioned HR, it's in the entire playbook of HR, right? So whatever chapter you pull out, it's the entire life cycle, whether it's the recruitment piece of it or the retention, on how we attract to how we retain to how we reward, how we compensate, well-being. I can apply it, and we do apply it to literally everything. I'll give you an example, right? So I mentioned well-being, so it might poke a few people's ears, like, what am I talking about? So as you know, like last couple years have been extremely difficult for the healthcare industry. And insurance is not an easy topic at all right now, quite frankly. But I'm quite proud to say that not only do we have like the latest market competitive insurance policies for our associates and their families, and parents and extended. But it's also, we were able to actually give folks a discount in a world that had 11% inflation rate on medical insurance. Now, the only reason it's not there is no what am I talking about? Because I mentioned it too. It's because we had analytics being watched through the year, because, where we were 2 years back and where we are now, we've been watching how our claims have been going. We've been watching what our associates get affected with most, been helping them, lead a better life on some of those aspects, lead a healthier, life. And at the same time, be able to command a different piece with our insurance vendors. So just think about the power of, the fact that we've been able to touch, multiply not only the associates we have, but each one of their families, the number of lives in multi-thousands, and give them a fabulous, a commercial against it, is just at the back of data. And this is just one example, right? Be it COVID or the fact that, we in a very, very short frame of time, we've got the vaccination data and across. Now, of course, all of India is running on a COVID base, but similarly, right? I mean, we know the status of each one of our folks well ahead of when this whole thing started, because we've got some of the brightest minds. I remember talking to them at 10 p.m. at night, in fact, and they had it ready for us in a few hours, and they're like, here you go, right? So that's the power of it, where we've been able to use intelligence data, get our folks vaccinated, at record-breaking rates, just with data, right? So it's in every sphere. I mean, I could sit and talk about it endlessly, but like I said, analytics is the backbone of everything that we do, including how we promote in every single dimension. So.
Yeah, that's quite wonderful to know. Thank you for sharing that, Mamta. You're absolutely right. I think, it was about roughly 5 to 6 years ago, that, we got, all of us in the HR function, got to learn about predictive analytics and its importance. You're bang on there. And yeah, I mean, and I think, over the last 5 years, there is no HR head worth their salt who's managed to, sort of ignore that, because it literally leads your life. Now, having said which, it is great that you have also acknowledged the importance of empathy, because, emotional intelligence and empathy ain't going anywhere. I was on another discussion, and in that, leaders spoke about the importance of the head, the heart, and guts. So I think, whether we like it or not, an HR leader, irrespective of where she might be, will need all three. And it's great that you're saying, despite the head, which is the analytics, there is going to be the importance of the heart, which is the empathy. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I'm smiling before you just go to your next. I was smiling just as you said that, because, spot on, right? I mean, we did this leadership session for some of our senior most leaders. And while we broke it in 2 parts, while we started the first one with the head, the second session was all about the heart, right? And one cannot focus, and operate without the other, and the guts being courage. In fact, believe it or not, one of our core competencies, and that's one of my favorite ones, for if you find yourself ever, in a conversation or an interview with me, I will be assessing for courage, because that is something that, we look for. And in fact, is one of our, values, where we encourage people to stand up for the right things. So, and to speak their mind. And it's again back to the cultural piece. So I couldn't be more glad that you mentioned all three do have its own place.
Wonderful. I mean, it's great when it just comes up in the midst of a conversation very naturally, as it did. So thank you for that. You did mention the pandemic, and India and the world has been in the midst of the pandemic, right? So I guess it would be a trifle unfair to all of us and to our audience if we don't talk about the pandemic in any way. And which sort of brings me to the next question, which is, with the pandemic well-being, taking center stage, which also you alluded to, right? Will that drive well-being strategies in organizations? And do you see that, staying on even beyond the pandemic? Because we're all hoping that at some stage the pandemic will be behind us. We don't know when, but we're all hopeful.
No, look, you raise an excellent point or topic, I would say, right? I was talking to our global head of benefits and wellness, and in fact our CHRO at some time back on this topic. And what we all, equally recognize is the fact that due to the pandemic, and I'm sure it's a lot of other people, the focus of health and well-being, right, has accelerated across the world, at a very fast pace. Now, the good thing for Fiserv, at least, is that it was always there. It was always, part of our overall employee value prop. It was always a part of something that we offered our associates. But I would say, and I'm talking at a very macro, economic level at this point in time, that what this last 2 years has done is just across the industry, across organizations, across individuals, okay, across each person that's listening in today and otherwise, it's placed such an importance on the fact that our health and safety, matters really over everything else, right? I mean, it is at the forefront. You can't take this for granted. So, with that, the fact is, and like I said, for Fiserv, it was a way of life. And it is now in every leader, which is why for us the transition to, this whole piece around empathy and other pieces that I've been talking about in family first culture came very naturally, because it always came from a place of well-being and care. Yeah. I mean, it is a strategic driver. There is no going away from that. Yes, fingers crossed, the pandemic goes behind us. But the fact is, like I said, both organization, will have it as part of their core EVP. And associates and employees will expect it as well. And, they ain't wrong in that expectation, right? So it's going to be twofold. And it's going to be all encompassive, right? It's not about a particular theme. If I can just elaborate on that. For us, again, at Fiserv, right, it's a holistic well-being, a philosophy, which basically covers both, I mean, all four dimensions. So it's the emotional well-being, it's the physical well-being, mental well-being, and also, by the way, financial well-being, right? That also tends to play on people's mind in various ways and has different effects, right? It's all four. And again, somebody could need more of something at one point in time or sphere of their life and less of another, and it changes, right? There is no constant on this. Which is why we have, and again, back to technology, we have, pieces that are technology enabled. So we've got something that's called Fuel Your Life, which essentially is all about our well-being strategy. It's all about our well-being platform that is digitally enabled. It's on the phone, it's on an app. You can customize it to yourself. It tells you what you need more of, and you customize it for your needs, right? Just like with anything else. Even in fact, the time when we were virtual, we've run so many wellness sessions across all these four spheres and found families and their children and everybody, because that's the other thing, by the way. Well-being is no longer just related to an individual, because you never bring just yourself to work. You bring your whole self to work, right? I mean, we've seen kids popping in and out of screens. You won't see my 3-year-old come right now and scream because I have strategically managed that. But that's the thing, they will, right? So when you're taking care of them and as families, you're really taking care of everyone, right? And that caters to the needs. So I think we find ourselves in a way that is digital platform for us, that is individual needs, as well as, of course, the COVID piece has had its impact, right? And has taught that on well-being pieces, we are agile, we're nimble, and we're extremely adept. You're right. And the power of community. Right. So just like with so many organizations, but at Fiserv, I'll tell you, we had not only extended medical insurance across the board and taking care of the disease associates and families. And I'm just couldn't, you spoke about heart, right? Our business head, has personally spoken to all the families, right? And still continues to watch for what is happening to those that are left behind. And that comes from a place of deep concern and heart. It wouldn't come otherwise. So that's the kind of culture that we have. We've placed a lot of people back at work. There's been extensive financial care that has been provided to those that have felt the need for it. No questions asked in that sense of it. We continue to monitor and do that. So there is that bit of agility. While there is tech and bespoke solutions for your individual well-being, this piece has taught the agility part for it, because today is this pandemic. God forbid there is something else tomorrow. At least we are better prepared. But yeah, the employee psychological safety and well-being is again at the forefront of it. So I think that will continue to be here.
Wonderful, Mamta. I think, thank you so much for such an elaborate and detailed explanation. What I'm taking away for the audience is you just don't look at the emotional and the mental well-being, but equally the physical and the financial. And I think it is very, very apparent you kept speaking about culture. I think through all that you've mentioned, it's become very evident to all those who are watching us today virtually, that it's obviously a very ingrained part of what Fiserv as an organization stands for. So thank you very much. That brings me to my very last question, because I'm absolutely conscious of the time. And this is on diversity and inclusion. Given that, while introducing you, I did mention that you are a D&I champion at Fiserv. So, just what are you doing in your capacity of advancing conversations? And I'm just keeping it at that, conversations on diversity and inclusion. And this indeed is my very last question for today's session.
Yeah, no, thank you. And thank you for saving the best for last, as they say, right? And I recognize that I'm talking to, a group of, I'm sure several women leaders coming from several walks of life. But I'll give you a holistic view and then kind of, double click a little bit on the women piece. And I'm glad that you said advancing conversations, because it is never really done till it's done, right? I think as overall, there is much to be done in this space. And the good part is that this is something that, again, I'll start from the top, that Fiserv truly believes in, right? An organization that has fundamental belief across from all the leadership, all walks of leaders. And it is part of our DNA, where advancing diversity and inclusion is again, really core to the way that we are today, and the way that we always see ourselves as a Fortune, top 50 and as an organization that is truly world's most admired, right? If from that perspective, there are all spheres there. So it starts from the mindset, right? And the very fact that what I just mentioned is observed not only in words, but in actions on an everyday basis, right? So we attract some of the brighter and best talent, I would say, from all walks of life, in all communities. So LGBTQ, I remember years ago also, when we've had, so we have equitable policies, not just that are mandated by the government, but in general that are progressive. Organizations have to do a certain thing by statute, and then there's certain things that it's the way that we want to see the world. right? And that's a belief. I'm like, is this how I'd like to see the world, or the way that, my child would like to grow up? Probably not. So we shape it, and that's the way it is for us every single day. An ecosystem where, we have several women, and I'm sure several of the women that are here, that come back after a maternity break or any other break that they've taken for whatever, personal reason, whether it was a sabbatical or whether it was studying, whatever the reason may be, that are returning back to work, right? We've partnered with organizations like yourselves, and several. So having a deep and far outreach to attract women back into the workspace. And it's not just attracting them back, right? It is then, once we have women leaders, it's the entire life cycle. It's about nurturing them through every stage of their life. It's about asking ourselves, I'll go back to what I said earlier, listening, right? That's again a very important piece for us. How is people's experience turning out to be, shaping, changing it, whether it is, like I mentioned, different stages of an individual's life as well as career stages, right? And then empowering them, celebrating it, nurturing, and rewarding. So it's that whole piece. I mean, whether it is equitable pay, and mind you, it's equitable pay not just when you join us, but to even do our best to make good for whatever shortfall you had prior to joining us. We've done, again, back to analytics, a lot of pieces to see how we can, make good on that, right? So there are those pieces. Mindset, I spoke about that. It's about raising awareness and training across all the levels in the organization. Sensitization. Sometimes people have the best intentions but just don't realize otherwise. So it's a continuous process. It's right from our new hire orientation to the way we attract, to throughout. So every stage in life cycle, it comes up, right? We are just hardwired, and what I'm really proud of is all my colleagues are again, it comes from a place of inner belief, right? So we do have a very proactive approach when it comes to tactical pieces of recruitment and sustaining it. And last but not the least, again, being conscious of time, I would say employee resource groups, right? So ERGs, you spoke about the multiple countries we operate in. We've got more than 6,500 people that are part of, our ERGs that cover a spectrum of, different ERGs, right? Whether it is for women and their advancement, and they thrive on their own, which is the beauty of it. There's just so much passion that they're like very self-sustaining, right? And then multi-generational. So we've got something for the younger generation. And I don't mean to say anything against the older generation. It's just that it is the way it is. Demographics show that 70% of them are millennials and below. And then we've got for folks coming in from the veteran, industry. So we've got several pieces, people with disability, LGBTQ, just our ERGs that have very active sponsors, very active members. And last but not the least is Fiserv as an organization is just not shy to speak on things or to, stand up for what's right. And I'm pretty proud of that, as you can sense from overall the conversation, but yeah, whether it is, and it doesn't matter which part of the world. So whether it was George Floyd in the US or Asian hate or what is happening closer home in India, everybody stands up. The CEO will get involved. Everybody will stand up, say for what's right. So it's a place where we want to listen, where the CHRO and others will make time just for you to express yourself because you're feeling a particular way on a particular topic, right? Because we understand that matters. So I think this all goes a very long way to our diversity and inclusion, because it's both. And I know I've said last but not the least a few times. I promise this is the last. Trust me, our leaders even get measured on it. So we've even gotten, individual reports that talk about how diverse and inclusive our top 300 leaders globally are. So that's how serious we are about it. So hopefully that helps. But thank you for asking the question.
Wonderful, Mamta. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, we are absolutely out of time, as you might have well imagined. We are beyond, time. But thank you so much for, speaking with so much of clarity, speaking with so much of passion. I think those two were absolutely evident. And literally, thank you for putting your best foot forward, not just for Fiserv, the organization that you represent, but for all the women who are out there in the audience today. Thank you very, very much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Have a wonderful rest of your conference. Thank you.
Thank you so much.